Reed, what up, bro? You boy, work your team. I'll let you. Shout out to the Lost Boys. Y'all stay intact, all right? Peace right here in the building.
REED-BBS, BBS. To William Scull, former IBF super middleweight champion, the name of the game is hit and not get hit. Hit and not get hit. Hit and not get hit. It's a two-part deal. A two-part deal. You got the second part down pat. The not get hit part, you got that part down pat, bruh. Let's work on part one though, the hit part. Again, it's hit and not get hit. Hit and not get hit. Everything we dislike about Cuban boxing on a professional level, all that shit was manifested in the Canelo versus William Scull fight. Think of the worst parts, the very worst parts. Think of the least combative traits of a Guillermo Rigondeaux or Irislandy Lara. And that's what William Scull put on display. That's what he whipped out versus Canelo. The worst parts, the least combative parts of those men. Saudi Arabia is a long way to travel for a bullshit performance. There's blame for Canelo too, though. It takes two to tango, and the ring is only so big. Cut that shit off. Cut that shit off. Canelo's feet work never looked more deliberate, never looked slower. His body, for him, looked softer, like he wasn't quite as in shape. He wasn't as tight as we're used to seeing Canelo physique-wise. He looked like the old guy that used to be in shape. Ric Flair built. Nature Boy Ric Flair looking ass. The old guy who you could look at him and tell, yeah, that old man used to be in shape. That's kind of how Canelo was looking. A little bit. A little bit. No, he wasn't fat or anything. I'm just kidding. But his body wasn't quite as tight as we're accustomed to seeing. He looked older, just looked pale, no tan to him. I don't know if it ain't much sun in Saudi or what, but yeah, he just looked older in general, just all around. So William Scull mostly to blame, but Canelo got to take some of that too. Which brings us to September the 12th, Allegiant Stadium, Lost Wages, Nevada versus Terence Bud Crawford. SAUL Canelo ALVAREZ versus Terence Bud Crawford, that is. Undisputed super middleweight championship of the world. Bud Crawford looking to become the first male to win 3 undisputed championships in the 4-belt era. Got that? We've all seen the scale pick of Bud weighing 190, 197 or whatever it was. We've also known that he has longer arms and is slightly taller than Canelo. But seeing them during the stare down across from each other, yes, this was a one-day replenished Canelo after a 12-round track meet, so he wasn't completely filled out. But it was still shocking to see that Bud was thicker than Canelo. That won't be the case on the press tour once Canelo is filled back out. He's a naturally bigger, thicker man, not taller or longer, but he's bigger naturally, for sure, and stronger. But just seeing them across from each other and seeing Bud, the thicker man, at least for now, it was shocking. It wasn't something we can just dismiss. Looking the part and being the part aren't the same thing, though. What happens when Bud gets hit by a super middleweight? He's not going to dent Canelo being a puffed up super middleweight. What happens when he gets hit, though? At the same time, what's Canelo gonna do to cut the ring off on Bud? He couldn't do so against Scull. What's he gonna do against a quicker, presumably quicker man? How will the extra weight impact Bud's cardio? There's a lot of unanswered questions here that make the fight intriguing. We'll for sure break down the fight itself, the matchup, as we get closer to September 12th. We'll also get into the racial component of what Canelo versus Bud Crawford means. Sadly, with casual fans, there's gonna be racial lines drawn You know, SA's rooting for the SA, brothers rooting for the brothers. One of them fights where the live crowd at Allegiant Stadium, it'll probably be people fighting there as well. But we'll talk about all of that when we get closer to the fight itself. REED-BBS, BBS. Blackbird Sugar, Bachelor's in Boxing Studies. Television, Fred Sanford of the Fistic Arts. When all is said and done, there's nothing left to say or do.